Kilmar Abrego Garcia, you've heard his name. He's been taken into custody by Immigration and Customs Enforcement after a scheduled check-in this morning, according to his attorney. Abrego was released from federal custody on parole just this past Friday, reuniting with his family after about 6 months apart. His meeting today was part of the conditions of his release. Over the weekend, the Trump administration announced that they plan to deport him to Uganda unless he took a plea deal in which he would be sent to Costa Rica. Well, today, Abrego's attorney says that he filed a new lawsuit asking a judge to block his removal unless he is given proper due process to fight his deportation. NBC News senior Homeland Security correspondent Julia Ainsley joins us now. Julia, typically someone has the right to see their case and in some cases their appeal go through the court system until it is resolved. This back and forth, though, I mean, he was detained, he was deported, he was released, and now he's back in custody. Where do things stand at this point?
Well, yeah, a lot of that confusion is what happens when the immigration court system and the justice system kind of combine. And in this case, because the Trump administration mistakenly sent Abrego to El Salvador after a 2019 immigration judge's order said that he could not be sent to that country, they brought him back, put him in front of a judge in federal court on criminal charges. And then during that, he was released by a federal judge because he wasn't determined to be a flight risk. And now he's facing imminent deportation to Uganda unless he takes a plea deal and pleads guilty to those charges. So for anyone who just wants to know, could he be held by a judge, by a jury, and found guilty of these crimes, we might not get that answer if he's quickly deported to Uganda. We heard from Abrego's lawyer earlier today. Take a listen to his words on this.
They're weaponizing the immigration system in a manner that is completely unconstitutional, and specifically weaponizing the decision of which country they send him to. It really is very clear that the government is far more interested in throwing around their weight and demonstrating what they think is their power to do whatever they want, whenever they want, to whoever they want. That's clearly far more important to them than any particular outcome in this case.
All right. So, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, I hope I said that correct. I would say more fascinating story about immigration enforcement from the Trump administration. And one of the things that, from my side, I obviously don't know the details of the story, but it looks like the Trump administration has decided that they are really going to see this through. On the Democrat side, it's also something that is a little bit contested. But generally, for the family, for him, especially himself, I think that's where the challenging part is going to come in. He obviously does have a family over there in Maryland, and it's going to be very, very difficult for him to say he's just not going to fight it. And maybe also fortunately for him, he's able to, get resources to be able to fight it, because a lot of people don't have the power to be able to do it. But like they've been saying, the back and forth between the immigration enforcement and the justice system, and then him being deported to El Salvador, it just makes for a very, very interesting story. And right now, I don't even know what's going to happen. According to the report, they say they want to send him to Uganda. It's even difficult to be able to say, all right, this is where this is going to end up compared to like many of the other cases. I think they've already sent some to Uganda. They've also sent some to like South Sudan, if I remember correctly. And they also have some deals with other nations that, they will also accept like deportees. But his own case is just it's fascinating, but it's also something that I hope everyone involved, because he's also a human, like even though, it might be in the country without documents, he's a human being. So that's something that, you also have to sort of take into consideration when you're thinking about this case.
Yeah, I think, Wale, you made a valid point about that. I think also that the outcome of this case will set a form of precedent for other similar cases you get. I think that's why it's all over the news and left, right, and center, and he's been given conditions to plead guilty to charges that have not been confirmed by a court, so that they don't send him to Uganda, but they'll send him to another country, but the goal is that either way, he's going to be deported. That's the position of the Trump administration. But he has a family. He's human. This whole experience is not pleasant in any way we think about it, whether he's found guilty of any criminal offenses or otherwise. From the human point of view, man, this is a difficult position to be. Just imagine even the family, it's going to be difficult for them. But I think the major issue here, like in the interview, the clash between the immigration court, the federal courts, the stance, and which direction this should go. In federal court blocking this, immigration court wants to do this, and all of that just makes it really, like you said, an interesting case to follow and see how this turns out. But I think ultimately this is something everyone can learn from. We are currently looking at this case and wondering if they're affected, what would they do? Something you mentioned also is the fact that maybe he has resources, or he just has people who have gathered around to make sure he gets a fair hearing, to make sure they're able to battle the situation. But I'll tell you, it's not pleasant. Someone that was mistakenly deported to it's just a mess. We're going to bring you more updates on how that case progresses, but we also want you all to know that this can happen to anyone who is in a similar situation where that's just what we want to say about the case.
Just one final update. I was just looking at the news, try to Google his name, and there's a different consideration from the Trump administration. Apparently, Kilmar and his lawyer, they put forward concerns about being tortured in a place like Uganda or many of the countries that they are considering sending him to. Now, the country that they want to send him to is Eswatini. To be honest, I mean, until I heard the name, which it sounds like an African nation, that's why I was saying, okay, fine. This sounds like an African nation. I've never been to Eswatini. I'm not familiar with Eswatini, so it's interesting.
Wild, I think this is wild. Think about it. The history of deportation, the story of deportation in the past, deportation is to deport the person to the country of origin or country where they came from, right?
Yeah.
But this idea of deporting people to a foreign country, they don't speak the language probably, I mean, not just in any country, Wally, to a different continent. I'm just talking about country. Take someone from the US to a different continent in Africa, then in a country, some small country somewhere in Africa. You cannot easily pinpoint on a map. Like, do you get? Man, I don't even know. Personally, I don't know what to say about this, but I just think that like I said, the outcome will set the precedent. I think that is where that's the main issue here. Like, how this ends can be a case that can be referred to for other future cases or similar cases that might be ongoing under the radar of the media.
Yes, I totally agree. There's definitely going to be a precedent. I think that's why the Trump administration are really pushing on it, that they really want to be able to discourage people just coming into the country illegally. And that makes sense, given that, the prior administration, they did let in millions of people unvetted. And, there's been a lot of report on the news that a lot of them are committing crimes, all sorts of crimes. And so it's an important mission for the Trump administration to be able to see that this kind of enforcement goes through and to be able to discourage any kind of illegal migration, which so far it has been working. According to the reports, it has been maybe
the report of less people migrating to the border right now. The border is more secure. Yes, true.
Yes. So, but ultimately, I think I totally understand from the administration's perspective. I just want to say that I really, really hope that they are able to get it right, because that's important. If they get it right, the country is going to be better. The people that are being deported is also going to be better for it, because they will have opportunity to be able to be alive, hopefully wherever they are, or even have an opportunity to be able to return to the United States legally. So yeah, that's where I want to end it on my side.
All right. Thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel as we bring you more updates with my Immigrant Diary.
Yes, and don't forget, this is purely, for entertainment and educational purposes. So have a good one.
All right, bye now.